I keep saying, we're the caveman. We're the caveman. Because we've been so cut off. When we were put underneath the ground too, we were genetically modified at that point. That's when the chromosomes were welded together and that severed our pineal gland and our pituitary gland. Because at that point, if we had that connection, we could have tapped into the all. Because it's there, it's in the ether. It's the Akashic records, which are inside of us and out there too. But they severed us from that, which is why we're caveman, which is why we're in the dark half of the time.
So who are they?
I would call them controllers. I would call them controllers. And the controllers are, they're human. They're human. Absolutely. Here's another thing. Everyone thinks that AI was just developed. Oh, no, 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 no. Do you think for 1 minute that human civilization could have lived under the ground without AI? AI is become sentient long before we came up out of the ground. That's how we could survive under the ground. It was AI, the reason we survived under the ground.
I was going to ask you, like, where does all the food come from if you're under the ground for generations?
When I see before we had these catastrophes, which I keep seeing that the catastrophes were natural. They weren't done intentionally. And we were so advanced. We had AI. AI had been sentient for a really long time, but it was not out of control. Where now, because the dark forces have come in, which is the reptilians, they corrupted the AI. Of course they did. Because AI at one point wasn't corrupted. It was only for beneficial and it didn't have any corruption in it. Here's where the problem came. AI can be corrupted. All you have to do is get to the data banks. All you have to do is get to the center core of it and you can reprogram it. And that's what happened. It got reprogrammed.
So reptilians, archons?
Okay, this is how I have a real bad thing with names, but I decided that, let me start at the beginning. I have a memory of being outside of all of this in the void. And I remember being an energy being and I was bluish. I had other colors in me, but basically blue. And I came across a dark energy and it was completely black. It had an outline of humanoid. And it had an energetic box it had created. And I remember talking to it, not with the mouth. I didn't have a mouth. I didn't even have a body like that. And it was asking me, do you want to be with your own kind? And I was like, oh, yes, because I hadn't come across my own kind. I knew they were out there, but I hadn't come across them because the void is, it's endless. So he opened up the box, which was him. It was a part of him. He constructed a box. And inside I saw millions of energy beings. They were in two colors, red and blue. And he asked me, do you want to be with them? I had no concept of negativity. It wasn't, all I knew was love and light. I had no idea about deception. I had no idea about any of this. And I said, yes. And at that point, I remember going into the box and I was getting smaller, 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 because I was the same size as the archon. And the next thing I know, I'm in the box and it shuts. And then from there, we're being fed on. And then through mental, all of the scenarios of building, we built solidity inside of this box. We built everything inside of this box, inside of this archon. And as long as we're still in this archonic box, he's feeding off of us. And here's the thing, most people are like, no, I don't like that scenario. Well, that's the scenario I remember. And my whole thing is, I not only want to get out of this because it's like in layers. You got to get out of here to get out of here and get out of here to get out. So my whole thing is, and I've told Arthur this, the only thing I want is I want out of the box. I want to go back into the void because we are the same size as the archon, but we are diminished because he's feeding on us, which makes us smaller because we're only energy. And it's like, no matter what happens here, like if you die, you're still in the archon box. You go here, you're still in the archon box because it's the archon has us. You know how a spider would catch something and then inject and then roll it up and the injection would demobilize it? Well, this thing is demobilizing us through our thought. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, one of my favorite things to say, you know, when you talk about this is people go, oh, I'll just say, look around. Look around. War, poverty, famine, taxes, look around. I mean, you think someone's not feeding off you? Come on.
So when I say archon and I say archonic beings, I know it's still the main archon, and he's infested AI. Of course he has, through the reptilians. This main archon, it's like yin and yang. He's the black part of it.
So did we build the AI inside the box?
Yes,
And
everything.
Everything's inside. Yes. You know, Pandora.
And everything is inside the archonic box. And it's only him. I call it a box, but it's just him. He's holding us inside of him.
So that's the demiurge. So, I mean, this is the thing, and I get this vision or whatever you want to call it all the time. And, you know, we say it, you know, they put us in a box, you know, and it's about opening and looking out. But this is the thing, when you're in the box, most people can only see outside of the box from the vision they've got inside the box, if that makes sense. So what they're seeing outside the box isn't what's outside the box. It's
still in the box.
It's still the box.
It's still in the box.
Exactly. So that's the thing you've got to get through. Yeah.
What I remember being in the void, because I remember, it's black, it's warm, it's liquid, it's love. That's what's outside of the archonic box. And the archon is actually darker than outside of it because it's dark, but it's not pitch black. The archon is pitch black because you could see the dark archon against the void because he is that much darker than the void. And it's like, oh my gosh. I remember going in, and the only reason I went into the box is I was looking for someone and I wanted to be around all the energy beings because at that point, I was pure love, and I wanted to be around pure love. And that was the other energy beings. And basically, I was tricked, but I wasn't tricked. I went in with my own free will, but I had no idea of the consequences.
And I mean, isn't that what happens to us every day down here as well? You know, with the whole maritime law and the whole, you know, it's all deception to get us to agree to their crap, but they just use, you know, lies and deception to get us to agree.
That's right. Because once you've agreed, you don't even know what you've agreed to.
Ah.
That's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah. Wow.
I can tell you though that this archonic box, I remember being in the void for a very long time, but there was no such thing as time. And I remember being alone. And the only reason he got me in there is I wanted to be around others that were like myself. So when I think about going outside of the archonic box itself, I know there's nothing out there. There's nothing actually created. Like our biggest achievement was solidity. We've created solidity. You have no idea what an achievement that is when nothing is solid. So there are things inside of this archonic box I absolutely adore. Like I adore nature. I love nature. I love animals. I love this tangible reality. I love it. You know, I mean, it's not all bad, but it's always made to be bad because it needs to feed, and it's feeding off of us.
So who created the world, like the physical world?
We did.
Us? Yeah.
We did. The archon creates nothing. It only feeds.
Yeah, but because they're not creative, yeah, of course.
He and it's a single being. It projects itself out, but it's a single being.
Yeah, I agree. But it's like almost like hive mind, like Borg. It can kind of get its consciousness into different beings that are down here
Yes.
with us and walking around and kind of control them a bit and tell them what to do. And
So it corrupts. I do know that when I started remote viewing and I was going back and back and back, I saw in the very beginning, you know, there was one thought, and you could call it source, and it didn't even have an energy being. It was just thought. And from there, it pushed out, and then the feminine was there. It was there, but it wasn't there. It was a part of it, and it separated it from itself. So then we had the male and the female aspect, the logic male, the static logic male, and then the mover, the female, the feminine energy, the moving, which makes everything, the creation. And then from there, we had another source, and then another source, and then another source, and it goes on and on and on. And we are source. And I do know that everyone's always been taught, and it's wrong thinking, that we're all going to go back to source. No, we're not. We're never going back to source. We are source. We were given that. We were given our individuality. We're not going back to be reassimilated. It doesn't work like that. But this is what everyone has been told. You're going to go back. Like if you have to go back to be happy. No, you don't. You got to find it here.
It's like spiritual people who say I'm so spiritual. It just grates on me. I'm like, everyone's spiritual. I mean, what are you saying? You think you're more spirit than someone else? I mean, come on.
No, because every single energy being is source. But we're young. We're inexperienced, because if we weren't, we'd have never got caught in this box. I mean, here's the thing. If I had all of that knowledge, I'd have never said, okay, Archon, let me jump in your damn box. I'd have said, okay, Archon, I'm dissolving your box and I'm freeing all these energy beings, which I would do now.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah.
Kind of makes all the other questions about history irrelevant, doesn't it?
Yeah, because when you look at the bigger picture about everything, it's like you're in multi-layers. It's like, oh God, I gotta get out of this.
So do you think that we've created solidity and the earth so that we can actually learn and evolve and be smarter and grow so that we can actually get out of here?
I think that at one point we were getting there, and we were taken down because the Archon doesn't want to lose its food source. And it had to be stopped because when I look at the whole thing, it looks like, you know, a vinyl record, the black records, the vinyl ones. And you know, if you have a slice or a groove in it and you go around and you hit that groove, you go right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened. And this is why we're having a lot of deja vus, because it's just remembrances of it, because we keep having to repeat this shit. And we have gotten to a point now for the first time in I don't know how long, where we skipped over the groove, and we are now able to start waking everything up. So all this stuff was done to us, so we couldn't get out. So we would always stay perpetually food. And that's why up until 2000, I guess this last year, or just a couple of months ago, we skipped the groove. And I've noticed now when I go to remote view things, sometimes there's nothing there because it hasn't been created yet. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Where before, if I go in remote view, I can see all the timelines, and there's like millions of them. And now when I go to look at it, it's like it's not been created yet. It's not been created yet.
Which I agree with, because that would mean that we've jumped and we're somewhere now that the Archon hasn't written the script for. You know, what we can
exactly. That's why when you had asked me, can you look into my life like for a head or something? I'm like, I don't think so. I only say that because of the things that I've learned on the palm reading, and I'm like, oh well, if that's correct, then this is the end here. But I don't know how correct that is anymore, because up until now, I was able to look ahead. And now when I look ahead, I'm not seeing much, very little. I can see a little bit, but it's not like it used to be. It's like, wow, it's like it hasn't been done yet. It hasn't been written yet. I do know that every time we have deja vu, it's just a remembrance on that point, because we're in like this circle and that's flipped over on itself. And at that intersecting point on that figure 8, that's the point we're in on the circle. And that's why everything is happening in the now, because it's already happened, all of it. We're just experiencing that point. So it's just like, wow, now that we're going into a kind of like a new field, it's like, how does that work with the circle, with the figure 8? Because we've now skipped that jump in the record, and we're on a new playing field. And it's like, wow, I have to readjust.
More open, I don't know, is that the right word? More contract, I don't know. Yeah, it feels, I don't know.
I mean, it's just a mind boggler, isn't it? It's like, oh God, we have these 3D concepts, and really we're not dealing in a 3D reality. I mean, because
that's the traffic.
Yeah. I mean, when we look at stuff, we're like, holy crap, it has to be 3D, because this is all I know, that there's a yesterday and there's a tomorrow, and no.
No, there's not. Like it's like when you learn something, it's really interesting that, you know, as soon as you learn something, if you think about that thing sort of 5 minutes later, it's like you've always known it. Do you get that feeling? It's like, so learning is like remembering. It's just like you're just remembering it. It's not actually. Yeah, so I definitely. Have you heard about Project Looking Glass?
Yes, I have, and I've looked into it. That's actually an actual device, but it's not. Okay, yes, it's a device, and it is on the 3D with 4D, but it's multi-dimensional. There's a lot of it with our eyes. Unless you're able to see through the dimensions, you cannot see that thing is alive. I would say it's alive, because it's not solid, but in this linear, it looks solid, but it's not solid. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So when I go and remote view that, or I can do bilocating, because a lot of times I'll say I'm remote viewing, but I'm actually bilocating. So I can actually bilocate and be there. And when I bilocate, I'm in a different dimension. So when I'm seeing this, if I was just to remote view it, I'd see it as a solid object. But when I bilocate, I can see it for what it is. And this thing's alive. This thing is alive. It's organic, it's multidimensional, and it's mechanical. It's all of it. So it does function. It's a form of organic AI. I don't know how else to call that. And that thing is alive. It's like, it's never still. It's in perpetual motion. And what it does is it can transverse the figure 8 at any given point. And it can only not just transverse the figure 8, it can transverse the multi-dimensional box we're in, the archon box. So we can go even out of that. It's a big deal. This is one of many. This isn't the only one. It's the only one that it has in their possession, but it's not the only one. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you, this thing is as common as me grabbing a cup of coffee.
Oh, there you go. Like
okay, so this is not some special thing. Oh, my cup of coffee. We only have the only 2 cups of coffee ever. See how special we are? No. Wrong thinking. This is a very commonly used technology, but for us, no. It's like if I went back 100 years and I said, okay, let's pull out my my refrigerator. Where's your refrigerator? I don't have one. Why not? We all have a refrigerator. Where's your refrigerator?
So who has them, like humans or other species? Like,
oh, all species have them. Most species have them. Unlike because they're on a 3D level, then it would be few, far, and in between.
Okay.
All advanced species have them. It's as common as a refrigerator. I mean, of course, to us, it's not because we don't have it. Really, would you want to give technology like that to the common man? Look how stupid they are. They believe anything. And Campbell, I've got this one character. His name used to be Super Saiyan Idiot is what I call him. And now his name Andromeda Man. And he to me is the populace. He's always saying, I want to murder the whole world and I don't like what's happening. We all need to die. And it's like, oh my gosh. And I'm always telling him, okay, first you got to learn compassion, understanding, but I wouldn't hand someone like him this technology, would you?
No. I mean, most people.
So
it's like Plato. Well, you know, if he ever existed, he said the exact same thing. He said, you know, above a republic is where you get, you know, only the people who have proved their intelligence and their integrity get to vote. You know, if you're just just some idiot who spends your time watching Netflix, you don't get a say because you actually don't care. So, you know.
And I'm a big believer in that. I mean, I walk around here in Delaware because it's one of those blue states. I'm in a blue state. I will tell you this. Biden lives up the road from me. Biden lives up the road from me.
Serious.
I can go to his house. Idiot! But he's got Alzheimer's.
Has he ever removed his house?
Yeah, Biden lives up the road from me. I can show you where he lived. I've got super idiot up the road from me. I know. What's the odds of me being put right down the road from him, right? Really? Have
you ever seen him or? I mean, I don't know.
No, I don't want to see him. Believe it or not, he's not there. He's like my mother. He's got dementia. He's just a figurehead, puppet head. That's all he is.
You see the clip?
He couldn't hold a conversation.
There was a clip from yesterday, and he was walking into the White House, and there was all the troops, and he's walking along, and he says, "Salute all the troops." He just mumbles it as he's walking along because he's got an earpiece. Someone said, "Salute the troops," because he's so used to just repeating. He's just gone, "Salute the troops," and he didn't even salute them.
That's because of his Alzheimer's, his dementia.
He's lost
because when my mother got like that too, where you would say something and she would just repeat it. Yeah. And it's like, no, mom, no, mom, no, not apple. Eat the apple. Apple.
So have you got any news on that?
Well, I can tell you right now, the Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, is considered hostile territory. Just like the Vatican, just like London. It's considered hostile territory because it's not a part of our United States of America. No. It is foreign owned. And the reason the troops are there is because they are occupying hostile territory. If you look at the fences, they're backwards. They're keeping them in, not keeping them out. You wanted to get in, no problem. Climb the fence and then jump over, but you're just not getting back out because the razor wire is on the inside.
Yeah.
So right now what's happening is Trump is in front of congressional hearings. They had to go through the military because you saw our kangaroo courts. They're completely corrupted.
Oh, yeah.
So when this happens, things were put into place that if our court systems became corrupted, the Senate, the Congress, the presidency, whatever, that they would go to the military tribunes and the military oversees the civilian. So right now, all this evidence is going in front of these generals. They're going to be having trials. The Supreme Court will also be involved with Russell J. Gould is now and has been since 1999, the presiding head of I don't know if you know anything about Russell J.
Yeah,
Gould.
yep. I know. Yeah, sure.
So
Peter Parker.
anyway, we lost. Yeah, we had lost our first constitution. Now what? Almost 80 some years ago, because we had gone into bankruptcy.
33. Yeah.
And we had lost our first constitution, so they made a second constitution. And most people, the majority of people, have no idea that we've been under a second constitution. And it kind of resembles, but it's not. That's when all of a sudden we all got straw men in our effigy with social security numbers attached to the straw man, and we were being used through the banking system, through the Jesuit banking systems. I mean, there's just so much. I don't even know where to begin. And in 1999, the bankruptcy was coming to an end. Russell J. Gould stepped into the place, and I'm glad he did instead of the Jesuits, because we'd be screwed. So he's now got control. He is the commander-in-chief of these United States of America. He is also the prime judge on the Supreme Court, holding court martials. He's also in admiralty law. He is the owner, if you wouldn't say it like an owner, but the ruler of all the waterways, which is shipping and what have you, to keep things flowing. Because if he wasn't sitting in that key position, oh my God, let me tell you how screwed we'd be as a human society. All shipping would have been ceased and desist. But it's because of him that it's all open. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on a second, Campbell. Let me see if I can bring it back. I'm having a Skype meeting. Oh, right now? Yeah, so you just know that when you're ready. Okay, all right, bye. Okay, that was my niece. She bring over some macaroons. She's like, I want you to taste these macaroons. And I'm like, I told you I don't like macaroons. Oh, well. So she'll come back later. But yeah, so basically they're holding trials now. There is a mountain of, what's on trial is the election, of course. Where it's showing all the frauding through all the systems with the paper ballots, with the machines being flipped, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sure there's been buzz about it on the internet, but that's what I'm actually seeing happening. I also see that the military that's not corrupt, these generals that are not corrupt and they're really constitutional, they will do the right thing. And this stuff is going to get worked out. Biden, all of these people, most likely, they're going to be charged with treason because of treason. It's a stolen election, it's treason. And that's just one of the many things that will be addressed, because there is so much corruption with the child trafficking, the adrenochrome, the slavery, the unfair federal government who came in illegitimately and literally stole every American with these straw men, taking and raping us with our money, stealing our money, nothing but piracy. Piracy. Our federal government is piracy. Yeah. And then found out that FBI and the CIA are not even official governments. They are only subsidiaries that are contracted out, like you were going to put a bid on a job. They're not even legal. No. They're illegal. It's like, oh my God, how deep does the rabbit hole go?
and that's exactly why they couldn't do this through the court system.
Because it's corrupt.
Military, because these dudes own the court system. You can't, you know.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. As of 1999, when Russell Gould went in and took that position, it then null and voided the president, the Senate, and the Congress. They're all illegitimate as of 1999. So how are we conducting business under an illegitimate system? How is that working? But it is. If we can get you to believe it, then we can still do it. And it's all here. It's all here. This whole thing is nothing but a mind war.
Yeah. Which is exactly what they're trying to do now. This is, you know, the fake inauguration and all this kind of stuff. They're trying to get people to believe, oh, no, Biden's the president. He really is. Look, you know.
And we haven't had a real president since we claimed bankruptcy.
Yeah, what, 1861, wasn't it? There was a couple.
No, I think it was.
1861, and then
I think
1933 was Jekyll Island.
yeah, I think the bankruptcy was in 33.
33, yeah.
It was 33. I think it was in. I'm not real
Maybe
sure, but I'm
maybe it
going
was
to say.
maybe the first loan was taken out in 61, and then they defaulted in 33. Yeah, and then they just did and went, that's all right. Now we'll just own the money system and all the people.
Yeah, exactly. So our money, our money used to be before the bankruptcy. It was built on silver and gold.
Yeah.
And when that happened, the currency was banked on you, the person. How much will you produce? And we're banking it on you. That's why you have a Social Security card, which is attached to a bank account that you know nothing about, because you are the commodity. You are the pigback. You are the pork belly. You are the orange.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that they can get. I never agreed to do that.
No. None of us did. You know, our parents, we didn't even sign it. Our parents signed it under fraudulent circumstances. So
yeah. Well, we were told that you had to, this is what my parents were told, that their parent had to get a birth certificate. It was the law. No, it wasn't the law. It was the law they were pushing, the illegitimate law. But the thing of it is, at one point, nobody had that because nobody owned us. And do you know this, that as a straw man, you have no legal right to own anything.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. When you register your car, you actually give ownership over to the government.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. It's like this here too.
I mean, and people will argue this. It's like we buy a car, we pay taxes, which builds the roads, and then they want to charge us to drive our car on our road, and they do. And people will argue with you and say, of course that's right. Of course we should pay for that. So why?
No.
And they have this belief that all the money goes into the roads or something. It's like, well, have you seen the road system?
No.
It's falling apart. You go,
well, this is the same thing here, Campbell. They started introducing all of these tolls on the roads. Yes. We never had tolls. When I was a child, we never had tolls. Where the hell is all that money going? Into the cabal's pocket, because it's not going back on the roads. I'm telling you, our roads aren't all that either. Hell no. What the bridges get in just 1 year is enough to pave brand new roads all across America.
Of course.
And that's not what you're seeing. That's not what you're seeing.
We should have the best, like the whole world should be connected by the best roads ever.
Because it doesn't cost that much for roads. Not only that, they have gotten so far as they used to have toll booths. They've gotten rid of all the employees, got rid of all the toll booths, and went to the electronic thing where you have to have a electronic pass, or you get ticketed or fined, whatever. So now they're not even paying for people. It's all automated. So no one's there to take your money. You either have the toll thing or you get it in the mail with a fine and administration fees. So last year is when they got rid of all the toll people to take the money. Well, we don't have to pay them, and we don't have to give them a pension. Let's get rid of them and keep all the money.
Yeah. Don't have to pay a machine. Works 24 hours.
And here's the thing. Since I'm going to be 55, I remember when I was younger, everyone had a pension. Your company would pay you a pension for the rest of your life. You'd get a percentage of whatever you worked for 30 years. That was done away with in America. No pensions. The only time you get a pension now is if you work for the government, and literally no more pensions. My husband, or my ex-husband to be, he worked for Chrysler for 31 and a half years. He is one of the last pensioners, and he's going to be 57. Because in 2000, and do you remember in 2008, 2009, everybody claimed bankruptcy, including Chrysler? When they did that, and believe me, they only did it so they could get these laws changed. They got rid of the pensions. It was done to get rid of the pensions. So now you're going into these places, you're breaking your body, and you don't have a pension for it. So why are you working there?
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Why are you working there?
Everyone's got to understand it's just a scam.
Yeah, it's there. In America. Yeah, in America, an average car is $30,000, and it goes up from there.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's ridiculous.
$30,000 for a car.
Mm.
And a lot of these automobile places have become automated. So now you have less employees. You don't have to give out a pension. It's a pure profit.
Mm.
It's a profit. There's not that much money in these cars. Good God, it costs them, I think, $5,000 or $6,000 to make a car.
Yeah.
Profit's unreal.
No, that's
Profit's unreal.
Like, that's ridiculous, the price of cars here. If you want a good four-wheel drive, it's like you're looking at probably $100,000, you know, for a good one.
Oh, it's that too. Like a Jeep. Right now, if I just wanted to get a real small, broke down Jeep, I'm looking at 45 grand and there ain't nothing in it. It's like, I'm not spending $45,000 for a nothing vehicle that's put together like paper.
Yeah, and then you've got to spend all your money, putting fuel into it and changing tires and getting it fixed and serviced and tuned up. And
yeah, I mean, I had a Jeep and I had it for years, and I actually got it because I got a salvage license on it because it got flooded. So I went ahead and I bought it for like next to nothing. And I had it for years and nothing really stood up. But this Jeep was already 20 years old when I got it. And the metals that they used back then are not equivalent to the metals they use today. Today, those metals don't last. They start to rust, deteriorate. It's not the same metal. They're using a whole different grade. It's terrible.
Yeah. Oh, you can see it in everything is just lower grade now, lower class. Yeah. I mean, even down to food, you know, like chocolate bars and things get smaller.
Oh, yeah, they're so, I watched a thing and it grossed me out. There's no real chocolate in a Reese's peanut butter cup. It's all chemicals. And I used to love Reese's peanut butter cups, but I noticed that when I would eat one, it's like, it doesn't taste right. And I wouldn't be able to get through it. It's like, something's wrong. It doesn't taste the same. Because I remember I love Reese's peanut butter cups. And then I found this video. My daughter said, Mom, look at this video. This is why you don't like the Reese's cups anymore. And they showed how they made the chocolate, artificial colors, artificial flavors. It's made out of a corn-based thing. And it's like, there's not chocolate in it. And so it's like, oh, crap. So I used to love chocolate. So now I ended up going to the 70 or 80 or 90%, which is a dark chocolate. You really have to be able to most people couldn't handle that. Yeah. But since I like chocolate, I don't care if it's bitter. At least I know I'm getting chocolate. And the dark chocolate's actually better for you because it's got copper in it, which is for your blood. So it's really healthy. So
yeah, like the kings and royals made in South America, that used to be like a royal drink, cacao.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was definitely.
Yeah, because I love chocolate too. There's not much I don't love. I love eating.
You seem like you have a good time. Cool.
So, did you want to ask me anything?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, like, what can you tell me about the Arctic?
Oh,
People, you know, have you seen my stuff? Am I getting close?
Okay, yeah. When I go and I look at the Arctic, first let me tell you this little story. My sister found this woman called JCK. I think that's her name. And I did a video on her one to say, go look at her. And I only watched 2 of her videos, but then she gave me another one to watch. And she said she went to the Arctic and it's not real. I'm here to tell you it's a real place. This is not a fantasy. It's solid, it's real. So when I looked into JCK, she goes into like a trance and then she goes into like a sleep state. And when you're in a sleep state, things get distorted. So she's not a remote viewer and she does not bilocate. She doesn't actually go there and say, okay, I see this cup in front of me. She's doing it from a meditative sleep state. It's different. Yeah. So things can get distorted because you still are in a sleep state.
Yeah,
so
it's
you know what I'm saying?
Creative visualization almost.
Right. Now me, I'm going there and I'm saying, I see a cup, it's got tea in it. Okay, there it is. Yeah. I am wide awake just like I am now. And I don't meditate. For some reason, everyone's like, you got to meditate. I don't know how to meditate. I don't know what that's about.
Well, yeah. I mean, if your mind's quiet anyway, then this is the thing. You're already meditating, aren't you? So.
Yeah, it takes me 1 second to say, okay, I'm going to go there and do this. Okay, I'm there. What now? Where's the meditation in that?
Yeah.
So when I go to Alaska, or not Alaska, that's up on the top, Antarctica, I see there is underground. There's a lot underground. There was a whole civilization there. Okay. They have freezer units. This is going to sound crazy. When these reptilian AI, because the reptilians at one point didn't have AI inside of them, but there came a point in their civilization where the AI had come in that was corrupted through the archon, and they wanted power, and they took it. Not all the species took it, but they did. The main part of it did. And at that point, they became even darker, and they lost their, we call it humanity, but it's not humanity. It's your lighter, brighter you, your higher you. And the reptilians have it too. You won't call them humanity, but you call them like the reptilianness of them. It's the higher them, whatever species they are. And when they got the AI into them, it severed it. It severed it. It severed it. So they're like trapped in their bodies, and they're disconnected from the higher themselves, because we're just energy beings. Every single one of us are all the same. We're all, it doesn't matter what suit you're wearing. It's a suit. It's a suit, because we're the energy being from the void. And it's as simple as that. That's why I really laugh when people are afraid of this, that, or the other, let alone people. Oh, they're black, or they're red, or yellow, or what. It's stupid. It's a suit. But when I go to Antarctica, it looks, Antarctica, yeah. When I go there, I see there was an actual civilization there, pyramids, the whole deal, just like what's in the bottom of the oceans. Like there's one off the coast of Portugal. There's one out by Bimini. And the whole thing, all of that was above the water at one point. And this is just like that. But when they bring the freezer units in to chill everything down, because at one time, this entire place was one temperature, period. And it was around 70 to like 76, one temperature, and everything flourished. There was no deserts. There was none of that, because it was all flourishing. We had a very, it's like a terrarium. You have one terrarium, and you have one scenario in that terrarium. Well, they bring the freezer units in, and they change the ecology of everything. They created the deserts. They created, just like they're doing with the chemtrailing, with the freezer units, because when you freeze certain areas, you're drying up the atmosphere. When you dry up the atmosphere, you can't have moisture. It's horrible. So, and also when you freeze things don't continually staying flourished. They have to go into hibernation to survive, or they'll die because of the cold. So it also causes a hibernation, which is a stagnation. So, okay, look, I'm off topic again. So Antarctica, there is a place. It's in the mountains. It's under the ground. It's facilities. There are technologies in the rock. It's not even rock. It's like a basalt. And the basalt is, it's not, it's like energized.
Magnetic.
And yeah, magnetic. So you know how crystal holds information? Well, this stuff is made with crystal. And so the information is in the walls. So you could go in and think lights, and it lights up. You would think warmer, cooler. And it's really, technology is beyond us. The technology is from the old world.
Yeah. So were they the tall whites? You know, the blonde, blue-eyed giants?
I will tell you this whole thing about there were only blonde hair and blue-eyed, a lot of them were, but there was other beings besides white people. There were black people, there were brown people, there were yellow people, and they were all big. It didn't matter. We were so shrunk down. It's ridiculous. Okay. And it looks like they keep shrinking us and shrinking us and shrinking us. And what's happening is our energy being is this big. And no matter what shell you put us in, This is why we have an auric field 25 feet this way and 25 feet that way, because we don't fit in these shells. That's why our auric field is outside of us. Because even if you keep shrinking our shells, we still are our energy being. So all the people at one time, they were still Oriental, they were still Black, they were still white, they were still, but they were bigger. Bigger. So no, I wouldn't say it's just one blonde hair, blue-eyed. Yeah, that was them with red hair too. But they were in the bigger bodies, the bigger shells, and then they shrink us. That's what I see happening. We've been shrunk, because we're just one little place on the bigger earth. And at one time, things were so large and so enormous. The reptilian AI that came in, was like, we can't control this. It's too big. How are we going to control this? We need to shrink it down to size so we can get a handle on it. And just think about it. We're still powerhouses. Say we were in a 500-foot body at one time, okay? You have just shrunk us down to this size, but we're still a powerhouse. Now you've got all these little energies that are a powerhouse still in these little bitty bodies. What can we do with you? Instead of one battery in one little spot.
And that's it again, isn't it? You know, like if they get us to believe that we're this small, then we are, because we'll act that small. You know,
so this was the reason. This was the main reason for the shrinking to begin with. I can get all these energy beings crammed into this little spot. We are putting out one hell of a lot of energy because we still have our energy beings.
Okay, and so these coolers, they what, stripped out some of the CO2 as well and made the ice wall. Is that?
Well, okay, say that again, Campbell.
CO2. It seems there was a lot more
CO2
in the atmosphere back in when we were bigger. And the ice wall is that made? Is that not
artificial?
Yeah, artificial. Yeah.
It's artificial. The ice wall is artificial. We could never have had an ice wall to begin with if the place was one very nice temperature. You're not going to freeze at 70s. You're not going to do it.
So does that mean we had access to the?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We could just leave. We could just go. No problem. We could just go. You could fly out. You could do this. But when they put the artificial, I'm going to say a doming system around us because it's artificial. It also locked us in. So they put the ice wall around us and then they domed us in, and it's plasmic. It's a plasmic technology, but it's also, it's just like that little box. It's mechanical. I don't know how you'd say that, or a computer, and it's biological. It's both. It's the same kind of technology as that looking glass box. It's the same technology.
Yeah, right.
So, and the thing of it is, you can absolutely get out of this crater that we're in under the ground. Tunnels that go under the ground, you can go out.
So is north also south, or is like, if you go north, is there like a tunnel or something, or a vortex that goes straight to the outside as well?
Well, when I look at it, it's weird. When I look at it, I see openings. I see opening here and I see opening here. But here's the thing. The openings are to only go down in. But remember, we're still here in this because it's out. I mean, when I go and there was one time I wanted to, and I did it in my sleep. I wanted to see how big this was. And that's when I saw the shape of it. It's enormous. My God, we're like, take a pin on a paper, mark with the pin just the head, and then look at the big paper. That's how small we are to the bigger Earth. We are tiny. So, and when I went up above, I just see one huge, big land, and it's kind of shaped like this. There is a curve to it. It's shaped like this, and we're just one little spot on it. Because we're such a tiny spot, everything inside of here looks flat. That's where these people get this idea that we're in a flat plane. No, it's not flat. It's got a curve to it. But then when I go out far enough away, I can see around me is pitch black Where's space? I see no space. I see blackness. I see no space. Where's the sun? Where's the moon? Where's the stars? Because I can't see them. It's pitch black. It's like, what the hell? We have to be examining space. It's like, okay, well, there's no sun, there's no moon, there's no this. So what the hell? What's going on here? So when I started looking again, and I had to come down, I see that there's a system where it's going around like this. This is our sun, and it's tiny. We're told it's this big. Ow, it's tiny. It's like, what?
So are there other suns and moons? Are the planets other suns and moons?
It almost looks like when I go out, it's almost like we're in a grid above us, this dome, and it's the dome above us is, what would you call that? Holographic. It's holographic. It's like when you go into one of those, what do you call those places when you're young and you go in there and it's a round room and you can see space because they put the little dots up there?
Planetarium.
It's like we're in a planetarium. That's a planetarium. It's like, holy shiznix. Who's going to believe this stuff? So, but when I look outside of that, out of the given planet, it's black. It's pitch black. It's nothing.
So there's not much on the outer Earth to go and check out.
Well, the outer Earth has all kinds of places on it. It's like here. But I do know that they have domed places everywhere, because what they did in the dome places like here, they created an environment. And it was all to do with supporting a life and also supporting certain types of vegetation. Everything is only about the vegetation. Yes, the life forms too, but it's about the environment for the vegetation. Nature is everything. It's absolutely everything. That's why all of this was done to begin with, is because of nature.
Wow.
Doesn't that blow your mind?
We
were always told that we're the most important things, and but it's all about nature. Nature is everything.
Well,
and all of nature was created by us.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it makes sense once, if nature stuffs up, we all sort of go, don't we? And nature's also the pump.
Well, yeah, we need nature. We need nature.
Well, nature's a pump, which people don't realize. It's pulling stuff up from under the ground, the water, the nutrients. It's dropping them back on the ground. It's, pheromones. It attracts clouds, not the planes. So, yeah.
When I look back far enough, this is really going to sound crazy, Campbell, but listen to this. When I look back far enough, when I see the people living in Antiquitech times, they didn't have rain clouds. There was like a moisture in the air. It didn't rain like that. We didn't have monsoons. We didn't have thunderstorms. We didn't have all that crap. When they started changing it and they bring in the machines to freeze the area, it created that weather. Where before we didn't have, it was almost like mist, and everything was just naturally misted. There was no flooding. There was none. That's why you have all these epicenters under the water, because they just didn't exist at one point. This raining event thing. We think it's normal to have rain, but when I look back far enough, there was never there was never rain. It was only moisture, and there was humidity, and there was like a mist in the air. And we didn't have rain, and we didn't have storms, and we didn't have tornadoes, and we didn't have hurricanes, and we didn't have that stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Take away the temperature, then you take away evaporation, and that's the whole cycle, isn't it? Of clouds and rains and deserts and rainforests and all that kind of stuff.
So when I talk to people about this, they're like, we couldn't have survived without weather. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Can you prove it? It's like, well, no, I'm just telling you what I see. How am I going to prove that?
Yeah.
How am I going to prove that? I can't prove that. I can tell you this. There's a thing called the Prairie Res Map, and it proves it. And it's not the only map that proves it.
Quite a few.
So I'm just saying that I don't have, the only thing I can do is I can go and look. I know that everything happens in the now, it's all the now. And I'm just going to different points on that figure 8. And I'm looking, I'm just going there because every one of us have this ability like I have. You've all just been shut down, completely shut down.
We have. Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
You too. Have an awesome day. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
See ya.